Hello. Hi. How are all of you? I'm Tiffany. Welcome to my quilting life. Today, we're going to have some breakfast at my place. And that breakfast, we'll be making this right here. Well, at least similar to that. Super easy table runner today. But first, let's see who's all here before I get to everything.
Oh, you on my computer?
Yes, please. I didn't turn it on another device.
Should be quick.
All right. We have Linda here, Marnie, Mary, R. Whitaker, Samantha, Dawn, Joyce, Joanne, Rain's Whisper, or Lynn, um, Diane, Bambi, Debbie, Ann, Sheehan, Mary, Betty, Karen, and Charlotte. Welcome, everybody. And if I didn't get to you, I'm sorry. So today we're going to make a super simple table runner in the description below this video. So if you're on a computer, right below the video and there's a little more button, hit that and it'll give you the description. If you're on a cell phone or something, close out the chat, open the more button, and there will be the description and it'll tell you what you need to make this project right here. So I am going to go ahead now and tell you out loud as well. So we're going to make two because I always have time for more than one thing, you know. I have this trio of combo. So my main fabric is a half a yard. My sashing fabric is a half a yard. And my second border is 1/3 yard. Again, main fabric, half a yard. Sashing fabric, half a yard. Second border fabric, 1/3 yard. It's really that simple. And then if you want, your backing fabric is going to be 1.5 yards. Obviously, you're only using like half of it because it's a table runner. So if you have a big scrap chunk or something left over from the bottom of a 108 on, a quilt or something that you chopped off, that would work. And then binding is, I think binding is 1/3 yard, something like that. I think I didn't even write that in the description. But either way, so we're going to make two today. And you can, this is like the perfect project because in these squares or rectangles, you can put big prints in there. So that way you can, utilize your big prints that you were scared to cut up or they would look good on your kitchen table kind of thing. That is what this is good for. So I'm going to have two examples today. One using a stripe, and then the other one will be using this cactus print. So let's get started because it's super cinched. Like, if you are a beginner and never made a darn thing, you can make this. I'm going to start by making sure my fabric is nicely folded so where I can cut this nicely. I'm going to start by straightening out my edge of one side. Let's look up there and make sure it's on the line. It is. And I forgot to change my blade again. That's like 5 days in a row I told myself, I'm going to change my blade. And I didn't. That's okay. I'm just going to keep working with it. So for our main focus print, the first cut we are going to make is a 7-inch strip. And then the second cut is also going to be a 7-inch strip. So I'm just going to line it up here on my cutting mat on a line. And I'm going to make sure that this is on a line where the fold is, and then the side is on a line. And I'm going to come over 7 inches. And I'm going to line it up and make a cut. And there we go, needing to cut twice. And then I'm going to do it again, 7 inches. It works good because my ruler is 5, and I just need 2 squares from my cutting mat over to make 7. And then I have this much left, but that's because some of my yardage, I just put it on the shelf that's between 18 and 23 inches for my half yard cuts. Then I'm going to go ahead now and open these 2 up and stack them on top of each other. You don't have to stack them. Some people don't like to cut more than, 2 layers at a time. I don't care. I cut lots of layers at a time. And good. I got to make sure that there's 20 inches of available space here because our next number for subcutting is 10 inches. So we're going to subcut and create ourselves 8 7-inch by 10-inch rectangles. Lining it up, make a cut. And here on this darn fold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. And that's there, but unfortunately that fold is going to annoy me. So I'm going to come over to this side and cut it because that fold is there and, well, I don't want it in my piece. I'm just going to re-cut on this side to create my 7-inch by 10-inch rectangles. Come on, line up. There. All that is garbage. So now I have 8 7-inch by 10-inch rectangles. Pretty fast, right? So I'm going to go ahead now and do that from the other fabric because I'm doing 2. So I just do 2 at a time, because it's easier that way for me to just get them both done at the same exact time. I'm going to cut a straight line on this side, straightening my fabric out. It's a combination of my table and my blade, by the way, is why I'm skipping cuts.
What's wrong with the table?
Oh, the mat, it's all cut into.
Oh, can we flip it?
Yeah. It hasn't been flipped. No, it has been flipped. I'm pretty sure it is. 7. And seven. So the first cut is 7 inches. I'm just not going to move my ruler until I know that it's completely cut. All right, and then I'm going to open them up. And after I cut away this missed piece, smooth it out. Cut the selvage off and then come over 10 inches for a 7-inch by 10-inch rectangle. 4, 5. And if you pre-washed your fabric, you might not get a full 20 inches of your fabric. Just thought I'd throw that out there because your fabric has shrank. So you might not have that full amount that you need. So you might have to have more than a half yard of fabric. Just saying it out loud, just in case you are a pre-washer. Okay, come over to 10. 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is 5. That makes 10. Yes, my hair is getting long. It's at that point now in length where when I go to sit back, I go to lean my head forward and it's stuck behind a chair. And or when I'm laying in bed on my side like this and my arm goes down, You know, I have armpit fur because it gets stuck in my armpit, especially if I'm sweaty. It's kind of funny, actually. But yeah, it's at that wonderful length that I hate at the moment, but I'm just going to keep letting it grow. All right, now from our sashing and first border fabric, which is a half of the yard. Look at this.
So funny.
My glasses are gonna fall. Didn't anybody do this as a kid? Look, mommy, I have armpit
You're nuts.
hair. I know I'm weird. It must have just been me. All right, let's line this up and cut this. So this is our half yard of sashing and first border fabric. Okay, so I'm going to turn it around and we're going to cut 2 1.5-inch strips off of here. And I'm just going to go ahead and stand for this so that I can see what I'm doing. 2 1.5-inch full length strips. They're going to stay full. We're not subcutting them. Okay. And then we're going to cut 4 1.5-inch. No. Yes. 1 equals 4, 10 by 1.5. Your hair needs to be at least 12 inches of hair to donate. But here's the deal. My girls and I all wanted to donate our hair in honor of my son Cyrus, who passed away, and because he had really long hair. And I took his hair when he passed away. So I have his long, well, some of his long hair. Anyways, our goal was to grow our hair out. And because I literally have, if you guys have met me in person, some of you have, my hair is the thinnest. It falls out really easy and it's super thin. So I need to grow it past my butt and back up again to have a thick enough chunk of hair to even donate. So it's going to be a while before my hair gets chopped off. All right, so we got my 2 full-length 1.5-inch strips, and then I need 4. Let me see. Hold on. We need 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1. So we need 1 strip that is 1.5, and we're going to subcut that. Sorry, I was reading my little directions out loud because I write my little notes down. So here's 1, and then we're going to cut 3 strips that are 1.5. So that's a total of 4. 1, 2. So technically, it's a total of 6 1.5-inch strips in total. 3, and 1 more. Oh no, it was 3. Okay. So those set aside, 3 of them. 2 of them are staying whole. 1 of them we are going to subcut into 4 10-inch pieces. So I'm going to go ahead now and just cut off the selvage, rotate it, and cut 10-inch from it. Okay, so that gives me 4 10 by 1.5-inch pieces. Okay. And then the next piece is 3 strips, and we are going to open this up. And we need 14.5-inch pieces. And why my notes have scribbles on them, so I'm going to make sure. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. We need 3. Oh, that's why did I cut 3 then? 3 strips, 14.5. It says I need 5 pieces. Well, oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, that's right. Okay. Yeah, I forgot to count the sides. So we're going to cut 5 14.5-inch pieces off of our 3 strips. I'm just going to lay this out. Now we need 14 and a half. 14 and a half. And that's 4 of them here. 5. Let me see. I need 5 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6. I got 6 of them total, but that's okay. And then this is just leftover from those 3 strips. I think I did like try to do it. Then the last of this can be used for binding if you want that same color. So here's mine. I used the same color leftovers for the binding. So I left enough for binding it. All right, so I'm going to move that aside. We're going to cut the sashing from this one. Over here, make a nice straight cut. Turn it around. 2 full-length 1.5 inch strips. 2. Okay, so 2 full-length 1.5 inch. Those are going to go over there. And then we have 1 that is cut into 4 10-inch squares. And I need to adjust this because this has a really big selvage. Come on. Just going to open it up and cut. In the beginning, fabrics have really thick selvages. All right, we're going to cut 10-inch strips. So I'm going to get 4 of them from this. 2, 3, 4. All right, there's our 4 10-inch strips, and then we're going to cut 3 more strips and subcut to 14.5 inch. I'm going to see if I can get it off of 2 real quick. It's probably why I did 3, because I couldn't get that 5th one. We're going to see right now, though. I make sure to do these patterns so that way I can make sure that it's correct before I, tell you guys. I need 5 14.5 by 1.5 inch pieces. All right, so here's 14.5, and that's 4 pieces. Let's open this up. Yep, that's why, because it's only 12 inches left. So that is why. Yep, I figured it. I knew I was doing something correctly when I decided to write this for y'all. 1 more 14.5 inch strip. Again, I have enough if I do a 2 1/4 binding from this one.
Is this your pattern?
Yep, this is my pattern. I wrote this myself. I'm just going to open this up, and I'm only going to cut the 1 off of here. That way I'm not overcutting. But anything that I overcut, I always chop it up and put it in my bin, or it'll go in my strings bin. So technically I'm not wasting anything. All right. That. Now the last thing from our 1/3 yard cut.
What do you put on the bottom of your ruler to keep it from moving?
There's nothing on the bottom of my ruler. I just hold it with my hand mostly over the whole thing, if you've ever noticed, and usually my pinky finger, or both my pinky finger and my ring finger. It's usually my pinky finger, though, that keep me from sliding. But if you guys have watched some of my videos, I do have ruler slippage just like anyone else. That is why I love my Quilter Select rulers. Even though they're expensive, they take the fabric with it. So yeah, unfortunately, the other rulers do not. But my Quilter Select rulers I think, are the best. All right, so I'm going to straighten this one up. For some reason, that does not seem straight to me. We're going to make it straighter right there. All right, we're going to cut from this piece. These in Actually, I don't need that one because that was an extra piece. Stay. All right, we're going to cut from this third one 4 2.5-inch strips. That's 4 2.5-inch strips from border number 2. So 4 2.5-inch strips. 2, 3, and one more. 4. And again, enough to use for binding, for me at least, because this is more than a third yard. So whatever one I want to be binding, I can make binding. I'm just going to leave those whole for now because we're going to make those a border, and then we're going to grab the other border for the other quilt. Since we're making 2 at the same exact time, well, I am. You guys don't have to. But this is how I do things in my world. 2 of everything. Why not? Well, when it comes to table runners and stuff. And I had technically already made one, so just so that I could write the pattern for you guys. Technically, I didn't write the pattern. I wrote it on a piece of paper, and I'm telling it to you out loud. So again, from our second border, we're going to have 4 2.5-inch strips. And if you want a bigger border, you could very well get half a yard and cut 3-inch, or actually 1/3 of the yard will get 4 3-inch. If you get a good third yard cut, that is, because that's 12 inches. And yeah, you definitely want to make sure that it's an exact number before you start cutting 3-inch strips from it. But if you wanted a bigger border, you can. And you can also make this into a whole entire quilt if you wanted to. You can, take all this stuff and make a nice, big, huge quilt with just the idea of what we're doing here. All right, so those are all ready. First things first, now that we're done cutting, we're going to take our centerpieces. Now, this fabric is a stripe. It is not directional, so it doesn't matter where I lay it. But this fabric right here, on this one, my cactuses are directional. So here's how you fix that, and I'm going to show you. If you notice on this table runner right here, my teapots are up and down on this side, and then if you flip it over, they are correct up and down on this side. So this side's upside down, this side is right side up. Depending on which way you're sitting at the table, it'll be right side up. So what we're going to do for this one, when I build it, I want to make sure that my top ones face out and away from me, like this. I'm just going to put 3 here for now. And then my bottom ones are going to face towards me in the correct orientation, like this. Okay, so we're going to build 4 across. Move my glasses because I don't need them. And my little cheat sheet for you. So those ones, you want to make sure for your directional fabric that you're keeping that direction. You don't have to, but this just makes it all the better. So we're going to start taking our 1.5 by 10-inch pieces, and we're going to stick 1 between each set of 2. So make sure that they're opposite when you're using your directional. When you're not using your directional, you just stick them side by side. So with a 1/4-inch seam, I'm going to sew on my strip, my 1.5 by 10-inch strip, onto one side. And I'm just going to chain piece all these through with that 1.5-inch strip on one side, which is my top. It only fits one way because it's 10 inches. Make sure that I stack these in my throat space facing the way that I need them to when I go to put the other side on. So 1/4-inch seam. Oops, stuck that in the throat space. Grab this one. here. Put this in the throat space. Then I'm going to go ahead and grab my other ones, which don't matter. So one side of it, I'm going to have, I'm going to start those first. So those are going to go on the bottom. One side is going to have a stripe and the other side is going to have stripes. So I'm going to need my 10 inch by 1.5. Sorry. Brain farting. And we're going to put that again on just one side of the striped one now. So I'm doing both table runners at the same exact time. And one more. Instead of picking them apart, I'm just going to bring them all back to this side. And for now, I'm just going to finger press towards the sashing. And I'm going to add my other side. And I'm going to make sure before I sew it on that my cactuses are facing one way on one side and my cactuses are facing the other way on the other side. I put them in my throat space in the direction that I want to sew them. Remember, we're sewing on the 10-inch length part. I'm just going to finger press while I'm right here. Add the other side. Finger press, add the other side. And you can press at the iron. If you have a little ironing station next to you, probably make it easier. I do not, and I'm not ready for Scott to turn on the iron and start ironing yet because it gets too hot in here. So I'm gonna do everything by finger as much as I can at first. Or using a pressing tool, if you have a pressing tool. All right. Last one for table runner number 2, technically. It doesn't really matter 1 and 2 because I'm doing them both at the same time. All right, on to the next one. Again, it doesn't matter because these are border fabric is technically what I would consider this is border fabrics. But you can make your quilts out of anything you want. You can even do in the 7 by 10 section area a plain piece of fabric and embroider something really cool, you know, words of inspiration or something to have on your table in those rectangles if you wanted, and have an embroidered custom table runner. Or for your holiday season, you can put, you know, whatever, say little Christmas trees or something for Christmas time or whatever you want. Totally up to you. And I'm gonna put another bobbin in. I'm trying to use up all these bobbins that I have like a whole slew of all these random colors. I don't want to use that one. I'm trying to find a color that's lighter. I guess we will. No, we don't want to use that color. Yeah, we'll just use white. I have a whole one of white. I might as well just use it. All right. Where did I end? Right there. I'm going to press this last, please. And then we'll have Scott iron. So if you want to get your iron ready and stuff.
Okay, it's ready.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and press towards the sashing and then pass all of it to Scott to open up and make flat.
There you go.
They're really awkward, so you might have to open them really good.
Where they are, right?
Yes.
Right.
Without any creases, lumps, or bumps.
Oh my, is there creases and lumps in that one?
Nope. All right. Since I didn't pre-press any of this fabric, it came right off the shelf. I tend to do that quite often.
What you have me for? Why would you pre-press? Right?
Yeah. Okay. Just need to send it all over to Scotty to press.
What is that?
That's the excess. I just leave them there. Oh, my scraps.
I thought that went in the bucket.
Okay, that goes over there. That's the next step right here. There. That there. And my next step is right here. Oh, can you press this too? See how it's folding?
What?
This right here, this edge is folding up.
I pressed the whole thing when I pressed it. Right?
Well, it's folded up.
Yeah, I pressed the whole thing when I do it.
All right, while he's pressing, hopefully you guys are gonna make this because it's fairly super simple.
The whole thing is those three plus the one I gave you already. So that's 4 pieces now. All done.
All right, now is the next step. Your 5 1.5 by 14.5 inch strip should fit exactly from here, if I can even hold it, to here. This should be 14.5 inches, and mine is. So now I'm going to take a 14.5 inch strip and stick it right here on the side and sew it on.
There's 5. You got 5 pieces.
Then I'm going to take another one and do that same exact thing. 14.5 by 1.5. Put it from side to side, sewing it on the now long side. Because the other way is still 10 inches. And again, grabbing another one, sewing it on. One more, sewing it on. Technically, there's one more left. and that is for one side of just one. All right. So I'm going to snip this bottom one off and turn it around and add that last strip to the one side. So that way there's a 1.5 by 14.5 inch piece on two sides of only one of your units. Which should look like this. Let's finger press this. So one of the 4 units will look like this, with 1.5 by 14.5 on each side, and then the other 3, it's just on one side. That would be 2, 3, and this will be number 4. So now the next part is fairly simple. Take one of these with the 1.5 by 14.5, and the other one with it on the opposite side, and we're going to put those right sides together. And then I'm going to sew it on. And since everything is the same exact size, if you sewed with your 1/4 inch seam and everything's the same exact size, when you roll this back on top of here, your seam should create a solid seam. So that way they are equally lined up. And you can check by just folding this side over and go, oh, hey, look, they're lined up. And that's where you want to stitch. No, I'm working on these ones right now. All right, so I'm going to sew this one on now. I'm using my finger to hold it where I wanted it to stay, just in case, you know, you never know if it's going to shift or anything. Whole entire bottom one. This top fabric is very non-slip. All right, I'm going to finger press this towards my sashing. And you can see one straight line where it meets up right here. Now I'm going to take this unit and stick it over that next unit. Right sides together. So I have my 1.5 by 14 hooked to the plain one with nothing against it. Again, line them up. They're exactly the same size. If you want to fold this back and look, my sashing lines up perfectly right there. Turn it and sew it. Like I said, you can do this as a beginner because this is fairly simple. And I'm going to open it up, press it towards the sashing. And then you'll have a unit that looks like this. Then, last but not least, that final one that has one on each side, we're just going to take that, put it on top. I'm going to turn the whole thing around this way because it really doesn't matter. It's not directional, right? I'm going to lay this where I want it. Slide it, adjust it, move it, do whatever I got to do. Fold it back, make sure that it lines up, and it does, and then sew it. And then finger press it towards the sashing. And then I'm going to send it over to Scott to get pressed while I piece the next one. So this is what we should have so far.
Good.
Okay, so now I'm just going to do that same exact thing with this next pile. One on every right side, and then that bottom piece, put one on your left as well. sliding them through, one right after the other. All right. Oops. Last piece, and then this one I'll pull off and add to the other side. Wow, I must have cut this one at 15 because it's half an inch bigger than it needs to be. It's probably because I was trying to do that whole one piece thing and I just didn't think about it. Okay, snip it off, put one on the opposite side.
How long does it take to grow your hair so long?
Well, so far my hair has been growing since 2022. Yeah, it's this long since 2022, like mid 2022 when well, you guys saw it in the videos. It's been growing since 2022. You can see the okay, I must have not been paying attention for this whole strip because this one's a half an inch bigger too. I'm trying to tell you guys something and I mess up myself. Look at that. That's okay. At least it was bigger and not shorter. All right, so I'm going to go ahead now and finger press these all towards the sashing, which I'm just going to pass to Scott to make flat because mine, again, I didn't press anything. So he can press these back for me because they are very wrinkly. Yeah, just push this all back because it's a little bit of a disaster going on. While he presses those, we'll prep our next piece. All right, so this one now, we have 2 full-length pieces that we saved. So 2 1.5 by the full-length selvage to selvage. I'm going to go ahead and just lay, let's cut the selvage off first though. I probably should have took a math measurement of that number, you know, if you wanted to pre-cut them to size.
We're doing all these too?
Yes, please. Get them all to face nicely. But I didn't do that. So we're going to take that long piece and I'm going to line it up on one end and then I'm just going to sew it on down. It's only going to hang over by a little bit. But I didn't do that math part. I should have, but I didn't.
Okay.
So it's 10, 20, 30, 40, 1, 2, 3, 44, 45. It's like 45 inches or something, 44 something. Because I'm minusing my seams too. It's a whole strip, pretty much. Yeah, it's exactly the whole strip. Okay, so this one can get pressed back. And then this one, exactly a whole strip too. And if yours comes up short because your fabric, again, was pre-washed, then I would say just cut another 1.5 inch strip or take one from this pile, you know, your excess pile, and add it to it. exactly the same size. So once that selvage is cut off, it's exactly like 43, 44 inches, depending on how wide your selvage is. Lining up the ends, they match because it's exact for this one. Okay, and then we'll have Scott press all this back because now we have our first border around complete on this. So we're just pressing it back towards the border. There, you can do the other one. All right, let's piece this one together now. Again, side to side like this. So this one will go on this one. Line them up, match my two ends, fold it back and go, oh, look, it's in the right correct direction. I need to slide it about 1/8 of an inch over and then sew. All right, pressing towards the sashing. Then add these two to this one. Line it up. Fold it back and see. Perfect right there. Holding it with my fingers. Again, you can pin it. I'm just not a pinner. I mean, I do sometimes. You've seen it. It's been caught on tape. And I broke thread, which is very rare for this thread lately. I came out of the needle hole. I'm gonna fold that back real quick and make sure. Okay, it didn't move. All right.
On the first table runner you just finished, your lines match up beautifully. When I do strips, they don't all line up. Can you tell me what I do wrong? Is there a trick to ironing?
It's not, there's no trick. The trick is, oops, we're on this side. When you lay your pieces, if you're not using a cornerstone, which I'm not, it's best to put it right sides together. Find that center. You're literally peeling this piece back, lining those two strips up where you want it. So once these two are aligned, the sashing from the previous and the next one, once those are aligned, then if your pieces were cut exact and you've been using a 1/4 inch seam, everything should match up. So you would fold it back like this, make sure it's lined up where it needs to be, fold it back, put a pin in it so that it stays. That's the best trick possible, is just roll it back, make sure they meet up. I can even feel it when I'm touching the seams right here. They're meeting up. Once you know it's where it's supposed to be, then throw a pin or a clip or something there to hold it in place. I just use my fingers because I'm used to this, and then start sewing. Pinning is your friend, or clipping is your friend when doing sashing without cornerstones. So let me open this so that you can see. so that you can see they match right up. This one's probably like a millimeter off this last one that I just added because I checked it 500 times. If I just check it once, I'm good. If I check it 500 times, then, you know, it'll shift because that's just how it is. So you can see it makes a nice straight line though all the way across, and I can run my finger straight across it, and it's in that same spot on both sides. So that's what you would do, is just make sure that, you know, you check it before you sew it on and clip it. Or you can do a basting stitch to make sure that it's going to line up, but you know, it depends. If it's a wider sash, you know, say your strip is like 2.5 inches between, that's a lot further back to roll back and look. But if you want to match it up, roll it back, put a pin where you matched it up, and then put it back and put a second pin so that that whole entire area right here in between this section does not shift at all. All right, that's ready to be pressed. And this one is ready for its next borders.
Do you have a video on how to make a quilt label?
I don't have any quilt label videos yet. We have yet to do that because we just made bag tags, and well, it's monotonous. It's the same. Scott had to sit at the machine for how long? But I just hooked them all together, so all the sashing in between, the in-betweens.
Okay.
All right, there's this. Now we're gonna take this. We're gonna hook all these together.
Well, tell them we made 60 bag tags.
Yeah,
that
we made
have
60
4 words
bag
on them.
tags with 4 words, and it took all day, literally.
Well, it took 2 days, about 3 hours each day.
Yeah, 3 hours each day, 2 days, because he split it up. I'm gonna cut all the salvages off at the same exact time here. And then we're gonna hook them together, end to end. Actually, I'm not gonna hook them together. How did I do that other one? I did the top and bottom first, then the sides. That's what I did. I had to make sure. Let's see if this one is long enough. All right. 2 of these strips are gonna go on the top and bottom. Let's see if it's long enough. Nope, it is not. Yep, it's short. I kind of figured that's what it was gonna be. All right, we're gonna hook all these together. One long strip. And then we'll put the top on, the bottom on, and the 2 sides. I'm just making a long strip. I'm going to do the same thing with the other border fabric. Chop all the salvages off, make one long strip because it's not going to be long enough. Can you flatten this one for me, please?
Have you ever made a log cabin quilt?
Yes, there's a video we did here on Breakfast at Tiffany's with the log cabin quilt. Pretty sure we did it on Breakfast at Tiffany's, right?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Log cabin block quilt.
Yeah, log cabin quilt. Can you press that, please?
Oh, this one?
Yep. Thank you. All right. That one.
Half log.
Half log cabin. I've done that too. Technically, the I'm trying to think of what it's called. There's a word for it. Strings of Illusion is half log cabin.
There you go.
The scrappy version of it.
You want
No.
another design?
Just this piece was a little on the not flat side. momentarily. I need that end. All right. Now I have that one and the next one. The next one needs my 2 long strips, and I'm not going to cut. This has got big selvage, so I'm going to make sure it even fits. Nope. So I'm going to take one of my leftover pieces and this and put them together because my selvage is way too big. So I'm going to have a seam on that one. All right, I'm going to cut away my 1/4 inch seam right there, and then I'm going to do the same with this piece.
You add double batting to the table runner so it can be a hot pad too?
No, I do not add double batting to table runners to make it a hot pad too. No. You can if you want to, but I don't usually do that. All right, cut that excess off. I hate having a seam, but unfortunately, this cannot be avoided when your fabric isn't long enough or you have super big selvages. All right, I'm going to fold this in half so that I have equal parts because I do not, absolutely, one of my pet peeves is a seam landing next to a seam. If there's a seam landing within this section, I don't like that. Drives me nuts. That is my one pet peeve in quilting. So I'm actually going to start it with that much on both sides. So I made sure to equal that up with the seams, and that way I can make it equal on both sides. So I'm just going to sew one side on and then cut off my excess and then sew the other side on. That way my seam here lands pretty far in because it will drive me crazy if not. All right, 1/4 inch seam all the way down. And I keep knocking that darn thread out. That's what it was. It was literally next to the hole, completely sitting out of it. I get for working at the extension table. Okay, let's find that strip that has now made its way to the floor. Line this up and stitch it on now. I'm not stretching or pulling or tugging. I'm just letting it lay on top of my fabric. Come to the end, fold it back where I can see it, and then just cutting it to size because of that. So if you need to cut an extra strip, but since we had leftovers, you know, it works. But if you need to cut an extra strip, just cut an extra strip. All right, I'm going to attach this other side. Find that piece. I literally only need it like 1.5 inches, 2 inches almost. So just hate when that happens. I don't think my original has a seam though. I think it's a solid strip, just like that other one. coming up to that end. Once it's on the table, I just fold that excess over on top of itself. I line it up, fold the edge of the quilt, and then chop it off. All right, I'm going to finger press this one back and then hand it over to Scott. And then we'll add the border to the other one. It gets this around it, yeah, and then the other one gets this one.
Oh, that one's for that. Okay, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. The green one. Okay. You have a seam back there.
There we go.
You want to use your purple thing?
Nah, that's fine. All right, now I'm going to take this really long piece, and I'm going to hang it over just a little because I don't want a seam to land at the edge. And if I just lay this on there with this at the start, that means this seam is going to land at the edge, and I don't want that. So I'm going to hang it over a bit, and that's fine by me. Hang it over and then sew it on the top and bottom, and then we'll do the two sides. Usually I do the sides then the top and bottom, but that's on big quilts. This one, I'm going to do the top and bottom, then the sides. All right, it's started. I'm just going to pull it up onto my lap and lay it on here. I'm not stretching, pulling, or tugging. Once it's on the table, just going to lift the whole thing up, lay it on top of itself. Make sure it's nice and square. And stitch. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And I'm just going to take that end that I just started with because it already has some chopped off of it. So I don't have a seam at the end. I'm just going to lay it on here and sew it on. All right, flip it on top of itself.
Yeah, I can't do nothing about that.
Oh,
The other one has one too.
okay, that's
It's not my
fine.
fault. Okay.
That's fine as long as it's not a big bump. Then it doesn't matter. Okay. All right, and then this other side, I'm just going to take it over here because I have a little hang off from where I lifted it to start. Just going to lay it super flat right here and line up my ruler on the side and the top and chop that off.
Are you using your magnet for this part?
Yes, I use the magnet. I always have the seam guide magnet. Can you press those back? All right, we're going to add the top and bottom to this one now. Again, I'm just going to hang it over. Nope, I did not. Okay, so I'm going to hang it over a few inches and then sew on down. I can continuously sew because I use my fingers to do this, lining it up as I go. That's why you guys can see me continuously sewing. It's actually not that hard. All right, now that I'm here at the end, I'm just going to fold it up on top of itself, cut it to size.
Have you ever made a round table runner?
Yes, I have not made round. I've made octagons that are almost round looking. All right, flip it over, take That same side, put it on the opposite side. My phone is going nuts. I literally stick, so that you guys know this. First, I point my fingers like a gun, but the first finger in underneath it, thumb goes on top. The rest of all of my fingers between my first and my middle go underneath the quilt, and I use my first finger and my thumb to adjust the fabric, and then the rest of it just glides over the bottom on over my middle finger, and that is how I'm able to continuously sew. If you're curious, I just use my fingers. My other hand, this hand, my left hand, just keeps this one straight as I go, and I just use my fingers. I can do this on borders, I can do it on binding, I can do it on anything. Anything that I can sew that has long, continuous strips. And that's probably why a jelly roll race for me literally seems like a race, because I can continuously sew my jelly roll strips over and over and over. All right, we're going to send this over to Scott to press. I'll finger press it back, that way it's ready for him.
Yeah, that way it doesn't come in twice.
You just have to roll it back, that's all you have to do.
Oh, you made a tag when you were preparing to bind the quatrefoil quilt.
I probably did that on when I had just because the quatrefoil quilt's been a long time. So that was probably just when I was using the Brother PRS, or no, what is that? The Brother SQ8295 or something like that. Whatever that Brother machine is that I have. Yeah.
Let's see what it is.
Oops, I forgot to cut off that end before pressing it with my finger. I'm just going to cut it off now by keeping it nice and straight. Yeah, now I use the embroidery machine for tags. All right. So far, this is what it looks like. I got that top and bottom on. All I need to do is add the sides.
It's Brother SQ9285.
Yes, SQ9285.
It was a Sew Sunday 5/16 and 21.
So this is 20 1/4 inches wide, by the way. It's probably going to be 20 1/2 once it's pressed flat. Let's see what this pressed one says, just so that you guys know. Nope, still 20 1/4. All right, so now I'm going to add my one side, and then I'm going to put the other solid piece on the other side. So that way there's no seams on the side, at least. Add one side on here, and then the other. And technically, you can actually just bring this around and add the other side, but I have a seam right here, and I don't want that seam in there. So I'm just going to move it out of the way and add the other side while it's right here and still attached and not cut. And then I'll cut it away right now when I get to this end. Hold it on top of itself. Yep. Cut that away. Right, I'm going to finger press this back, and we'll hand it to Scott to show you guys the final table runner, but let me cut this end off first.
Do you have any tutorials showing how to make the back of wall hangings?
To make the back of wall hangings, I just use one solid piece of fabric usually. But I do have backing, doing the backing videos. All right, there that is. Let's add the sides now to the cactus one, and then I will be done. Okay.
Yeah, I already ironed the brown, right? What am I doing?
The sides.
Very end?
Yep. All right, come up to the end. Fold it on top of itself. Chop the end off to sides. Flip it around and add that last and final side.
Oh, do you have any videos of showing how to make a hanging sleeve?
I don't have hanging sleeve videos. No. I do. Did I add? I've added my little hanging hooks in a video though, I think. Or two. All right.
Do it on the open deep book one?
No, because I didn't finish it in the video.
Oh.
I put the hooks on there, but didn't make a video on it. Put it around, press back the other side. All right, press that. I'm gonna move the flag so that you guys can see both the quilts. As soon as he's done pressing it, there's one. I like it. So that's with border fabrics.
Yeah, I like brown a lot.
Yeah.
You're not a fan of brown.
And the
but I
funny
like
thing
it.
is, this is a regular brown, and this is more of a not rust, maroon brown, but it brings out the colors that are in the flowers, which are the maroon or light brown mixture. So it worked out perfect. Yeah, I'm definitely not a fan of brown fabric, though. I
But that looks good.
never use brown fabric, but this looks amazing.
Blue and green cactuses look cool too.
Yeah, I like this cactus one. All right, smooth it out so you guys can see. So it's 20 and a half by who knows what. No, I'll tell you. I got it right here. There. And oh, that's as long as it goes. No, it's not. Nope, it's stuck. That's why. 47. So it's 47 by 20 and a quarter.
Do you finish the raw edges on the outside border?
Do I finish the raw edges on the outside border? No, because I'm going to quilt them on the long arm and then bind them. And that will be how I finish them. Huh? Oh, yeah, I guess we can. All right.
Backing for them?
I do not. We have to go into the other. I have to go into the other room and squeeze in there and grab some yardage. Scott suggested we quilt one of them on the long arm right now. So because I don't sit in free motion quilt, I just can't do it, guys. I'm just not in the mood. So I'm gonna go grab something that'll probably go with the cactus one real quick, and then quilt it. I should have a nice big chunk of something. You guys can stare at that for a second and listen to me talk while I go.
Well, if you can't find one for either one of them.
Yeah, I'll see real quick. I need a yard and a half to quilt them. Nope. Well, I guess. Hold it out.
Hold on, let me get in there.
See what this one is. Is that good on the back of the cactus?
I'd have to see it. Looks good to me.
Perfect. Okay. All right.
Get it done.
Is there a yard and a half there? It says 1 yard, 28 inches. Perfect. All right.
If you sew diagonal seams one piece in the border
Oh, that
fabric,
doesn't match. I'm not going to use that one.
if you sew diagonal seams one piece in the border fabric, would you need to be concerned about where they ended up next to the runner?
If I sewed diagonal seams here, I would still be worried where they land, but I never do diagonal seams. I am not a border diagonal seam person. I don't know why. I just don't like it. It stretches when I put them on the long arm because I have clients that do it. And as soon as it's on the long arm and if it's on the side, it'll stretch in that area and then I get bowing and puckering. All right, this is perfect for that one. So we have this giant floral here for the brown one. Perfect. All right, I'm going to use that. We're going to quote that one. I'll put that away. All right, I just need to press this real quick and then we can go out to the long arm.
Do we have a piece of batting?
I'm going to check for a piece of batting the right size.
Okay. Well,
Real
I'll go
quick.
out and turn on lights and stuff.
All right, I'm going to find a piece of batting and all of my wonderful piles of batting here, guys. That's big enough. And that is not long enough. I literally have a closet filled with batting from all the cutoffs of quilts. How big is this one? Definitely not long enough. Or is it? Nope, that's too short on that one side. Let's try this one. This one I can get both out of. See, I literally have big cutoffs like this from the long arm. Let's lay this on here and see.
Taking that front screen a while. Turn it on, walk all the way over here. I got your room, but then the front screen.
All right, let's lay one on here and see.
Is that how we're gonna measure it? We're just gonna lay it on.
I'm
there?
going to measure it by laying it on here. Over. Or not.
You can stretch it.
Yep, there we
It's
go.
extremely close though.
Oh no, it's too short on this end. Okay. We're just going to go this way.
Oh, is there enough room that way?
Yeah, plenty.
Well,
This
then
one.
maybe you can get both of them on there.
I could probably get both of them on here, yes.
Let's get her done.
All right. Watch out. I'm just smoothing it out onto the batting. And then I'm going to cut the excess that I don't need away.
Oh yeah, there's plenty of room. You'll get both of them on there.
Okay. I'll go ahead and cut what I don't need away. So see, I have another table runner's worth plus the other side of that big chunk. This is 80/20 that I'm using, but that's fine. So I'm just going to cut it with a little bit excess in between the two because I want to be able to have room for shifting, which happens on the long arm. And this is plenty for this next one. Look at that. Okay. I'll have to choose a different backing though, because that other one did not match for me. All right, we're gonna go load this on the long arm and quilt it. Here we go. You guys are going for a little ride, walking through the house. This right here facing me. You guys are going to get some tips and tricks while we're right here as well, because I'm literally right here. All right. I did not pre-iron this backing, but there's a way around that if you need it ironed. I'm going to load my backing on here, making sure everything's straight before I pull my bar around. My leader, I mean, on the bar. Can you unlock it? Pull the leader around. Lay my quilt back where the selvage is beyond my red snapper bar, and then snap my red snapper on. This is probably the easiest way to load ever in the whole wide world. Short one. Perfect. All right. Just as easy as that. I'm going to sloppily roll it onto this bar for a second. Oh, right there. Too far. I'm going to come around back. And can you lock that bar, please?
The bottom one?
Yes, please, so that it doesn't move when I'm trying to do this. I just do the burrito method when I'm hooking my backing fabric. Can you roll it toward? Yep. Right there. That's good. Straightening it out, and then I'll put my red snappers on back here. And then I'll show you what I do to iron fabric that's not been ironed yet. I'll do it right here at the long arm. I have old videos for machine quilting. I don't machine quilt anymore. I do for like straight line stitching, but not for anything else. All right.
What's your setup? What machine and frame do you have?
This is a King Quilter 2 Elite Special Edition. Cordless iron. Scotty put a link in. Make it steam. Press the back. See how simple that is? Then.
You want me to move this bar?
Yes, please.
Why did you say that?
Roll it to where I didn't press yet. Right about there. Lock it in place. And steam some more. If you have a really good steam iron where you press it like a Rowenta or something like that, then that works even better. And anything I quilt on a long arm can be quilted on a sit down. Just thought I'd let you guys know that. All right, lock it. And now my backing is pressed. Look at that. That was simple, wasn't it? Now, just going to lay my quilt top on here with the batting. going to put it towards this side so I'm not wasting too much fabric because I did load a pretty big piece on here. Of backing fabric, I mean. Straighten it out. Smooth it out. Ooh, this green thread that's already on here called celery is going to be perfect. It's like I planned it, but I didn't. Yes, please. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put this machine on baste. I don't have electronic locks, but I do have the Handy Quilter locks. So I just put this on one wheel when I know I want my machine to do a straight line. So I get it onto the wheel, and now I can baste a nice straight line across the top here. And know for a fact that it's straight and keep the quilt straight as I go. And then once I'm where I am on that side, I pop my little straightening thing off because now I know everything is straight. I make sure my sides are straight. And I go down one side and then I'll go to the other side. I can pull straight forward, but I can't go sideways straight. And it's not stitching because I'm out of bobbin. Pop this out and grab my celery right there. So I mark my bobbin cases so I know which thread is left over in it for a tip for you guys. So these are most of my greens, the leftovers, you know. So I just got to go in here and say, ooh, there's celery, and I have a bobbin already wound for small projects in the celery color. Yes, please. All right, so I'm just going to put a new bobbin in there real quick. I'm just going to quilt flowers. Yeah. I don't need to cross the top because I already did the top. But can you give me the side clamps for this side or hook them on for me,
I
please?
didn't get there because your fingers didn't work. You put the finger on and I didn't want to be.
I'll go full on that side. It's happening out here, by the way. The thing is falling. They just don't like in here. All right, so I'm going to make sure that this side stays nice and straight. Over a year. Padding got a little funky right there. Okay. All right, guys, I'm going to mount you onto the long arm so that you can watch the quilting. Let me adjust the mount bar though, so that you can even see. All right, you're going to come out of one mount and go into another. Oops, hold on 2 seconds and it's going to flip. It's going to shake for a second, so close your eyes, my friends. Oh my goodness, come on, you stupid thing. And then we need to put something to stop it from vibrating, because or else this thing is going to make a lot of noise. There we go. Now you should be able to see what I am quilting. Yep, it's following it. All right, guys. here we go. I'm just gonna quilt some flowers on here. I'm trying to think of what kind of flower to quilt. I'll do like a roundabout type flower with no
Well, that's like fall leaves on that.
flower and leaves. Yeah.
Like oak leaves.
Okay. Come around. So there's a flower and a leaf. Can you see that? Good. I'm going to attach with leaves. So the flower right here. And between everything, again, just filling it in with leaves. And I can change the direction of all of my leaves. Put a flower in right here. All right. It's not shaking too much, is it? Oh, okay. I'm trying to quilt slow. So I don't have any leaves right here, but when I advance the quilt, because there's such a small area to do, I'm going to make sure that I fill in right there as well. And before you ask, I don't know how I know which direction to go or which to quilt or how to quilt it. I just know. Because I know you guys are going to ask. I don't know how I do it. I just know how to do it. It's so weird. It's a lot of practice, but I'm used to it, I guess, now. So all of it comes natural. It's like second nature. I mean, and it has been 7 years on a machine that's on a frame, and before that I free motion quilted. Nope, I started out freehand, no templates, and I still, to this day, don't follow templates or anything. I just, how big do I what?
How big do you make your pattern?
How big do I make my patterns while quilting? Well, it depends on how much I quilt. So if I'm quilting a heavy quilting, then everything is smaller, or I can do big patterns in heavy quilting, but in tighter spaces where it's closer together. I can do super loose quilting that's super large. It just depends on what, like, especially what a client wants, what looks good on the quilt, and so on like that. All right, so now I'm going to advance the quilt. I'm going to baste along the bottom. Oops, baste. I'm going to just come down to this edge. And then I'm going to go across the bottom. I use my fingers like this to make it, the machine go, to get my straight line, or at least almost straight line. Oops, get back up there. Sometimes it doesn't end up very straight, like right here, because Scott pressed a crease into it. But that's okay. We will quilt it out. Well, this is a creased iron crease. Actually, the iron is still on. I'm going to press it out while it's right here on the frame. I'm using my fingers to push the machine over is what I'm doing, guys, in case you're curious. And then I get to this end, and then I just keep it straight. Right there. I'm going to press that crease out while it's on here. Every now and then I try to practice on paper, but honestly, I mainly just go for it. All right, that's nice. All right, here we go. So I need to make sure that I get up in this section at the top of the screen because I didn't fill fully in right there. And I do quilt fast. It's what keeps that momentum to keep you like it keeps a momentum if you quilt a certain speed so that you don't lose the direction you're about to go, because my brain thinks fast, so I go from one thing to the next over and over and over really fastly because my brain is thinking about that next piece already. So that's why I'm a little bit faster than a lot of I could quilt as fast, I guess, as automation because I make my stitch regulator go off all the time. Thank you. I like my fingernail polish too. It's purple and it's blue. It's purple. It's blue. It's purple. It's blue. All done. I'll pull my bobbin thread up. So I'll tell you this little table runner, come on, stupid thing, has 14,609 stitches in it now, and it literally ran the machine for 11 minutes. That's how fast I quilt. And that's on every quilt. I do it that fast, unless I'm ruler working. Then I'm like super slow because I cannot stitch in the ditch for the life of me. All right, let's pull this off. I'm going to put you back on the other mount so that way you can watch how it's released from the frame, in case you were curious. Fine, thank you. Okay. So let's just pull it off, and then you can see how it's removed. I always, I have a journal that I keep. So my journal is filled pages and pages and pages of long arm quilting. Oops, and pages are falling out of it now because it's kind of been used for a long time. I date it on this page. What does it say? 620? 20,
Yes.
24. I put what the quilt is. So this is a table runner, browns, and green. I put what thread color that I use. So I used celery. And then I quilted a flower and leaf. I put that it took 11 minutes of the machine running, and it has 14,609 stitches. It is 20.8 0.25 inches by, what was that? What did I say it was? 40 something? If I forget or I don't have it written down, I literally just measure it right here. 47 inches. Because I put how big it is too. So it's 47 inches.
Was it 47 by what?
By 20 and 20.25.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, 20.25 by 47. And then I wrote everything down here. And then once it's written down, I put my notebook away. I release the bars. I move the head of the machine out of the way. I reset everything. My machine is not computerized, just so you know. It just has a screen that tells me my stitches and choosing stitches and so on and so forth. Then I just, with Scott's help, yank it off. And then it is literally now off the frame. So now let's go cut it and finish it off. So the camera is moving back to the room now. Back to the room we go. No, I'll just cut the strips, but I'll show it. Yeah. All right, so what I always do with quilts is I always trim the biggest part off first. And I just use just a regular ruler. You can use a square ruler to start, but I have a straight line here and a straight line here. So all I really need to do is just cut. And I always cut the big part off first. So that way, if I'm using, like, say if I have a big quilt and I'm using the backing leftovers as binding, I always have the big chunks to use the backing as binding. And or I use these big chunks to put on the backs of other quilts. You know, so I'll get a table runner or something off of my excess. Now this is a salvage piece. So I'm literally going to straighten it right here. And cut this the rest of the way so that it can go in my regular yardage pile on my, scrap stuff. It's probably a third of a yard right there because I had excess. I separate the batting. I fold it before I make my next cut usually. And if Scott's in here, he'll fold it for me. Just depends on what I'm doing that day. And now this will be my yardage right here that I get to keep because, like I said, that's a pretty big chunk. I'm just going to adjust that out of the way momentarily while I cut this side right here. Remove the excess batting because I don't need it. And here's about 1/3 of a yard towards something else. That's as wide as a table runner right there. So I'll stick that back in my yardage. And then the rest of it ends up in scrap. And I usually try to cut my scraps down right after I make a quilt. And I just line my previous line up with everything to keep everything nice and square. And then I throw all that excess batting in the garbage. The small chunks. The big chunks I keep. And then this just gets folded into scraps. So that is, I'm not going to bind it right now, but I will because I have plenty of this one, I think.
Oh, I thought you were going to use green.
Yeah, I think I'm going to use the green. I'm going to bind it in that green. And I should have enough for 4 strips on here. So I'm going to make sure that it's pre-ready for me with 4 2.5-inch strips. Because remember, I grabbed extra from my yardage for the binding. There's one. As long as you have 10 inches You should be able to get 4 2.5-inch strips for binding. 3 and one more. 4. And then I have an extra strip left. It's going to be 2.5 inches. That'll go in my 2.5-inch strip bin. Look at that. That'll go in my bin. It's already cut. These 4 will be used to bind the project. And let's show you the quilting as best as you can see it. From the back side, it's easier to see. Can you see it on camera? So it's literally just you come into a flower, make a loop, double bump it, double bump it, double bump it, come out, make a leaf. You can change the direction of your leaves depending on how you swing the machine, which when I finally do the master class thing, I'll be able to show you guys all that kind of stuff. It's going to be really hard to quilt slow for it, but I'm going to do my best. All right, and then obviously there's the correct side. I'm not going to bind it right now though, because I'm out of time for today, but at least you guys got to see the quilting, because that part goes quick.
Is there any fabric that you don't like to use?
Any fabric that I don't like to use? No, because I like all fabric. I won't use silk or, like, I don't use, what is it called? I'm trying to think, there's a word. I don't mind it, but wovens, I've made a quilt with wovens and I still have yet to quilt it because it kind of just, it's too loosey-goosey, like it doesn't sit right for me. And it shredded the whole entire time I was making the quilt top. What else? I don't, like, if it's not quilting cotton, I usually don't use it. I have gotten in the mail, 60-40 type polyester blend with cotton. I use that stuff mainly for like test or practice. Like I do have a whole bolt of a 60-40 that I got a long time ago and I still have it. It's for the long arm for when I do the master class. I'm just going to load it on the long arm because it's solid in color and you'll be able to see what I'm stitching. So I do use that stuff, but I don't really do it for piecing. It's for other projects. Any other questions? Okay, well, here it is. This will be the binding. It's going to look great, right? And then the original.
What flannel do you use?
I've used flannel, yeah. I mainly use it on the back. I don't really piece the tops with flannel, but I have. So that was the original. And then the cactus one here up on the wall, which I will quilt that when I get a second to do that one. But there it is. So they're really easy to make. They go together quite quickly. As you saw, it took me 2 hours to piece 2 and quilt one of them. So, I mean, this really goes quick. And even sit down free motion, it would probably go quick too. Or if you're straight line stitching in a ditch. So if you need a quick and easy table runner for a party that you're hosting, whatever, same difference. These are quick and easy to put together. And remember, you can use those big prints that you don't know what else to do with. So very simple. Everything is in the description below of what you need. That's it.
What type of bedding do you use for baby quilts?
Baby quilts, I use cotton or 80-20. I have used lots of polyester in baby quilts in the past because when I made puff quilts, they're filled with polyester stuffing, technically. And then some of the baby quilts, I have recommendations from the parents. They want it puffy like a comforter, so I'll use like a 4 or 6 ounce polyester batting in it because they want that puff to it. So I've used everything, but most clients want 100% cotton in their baby quilts. So, anything else? Is that it? All right, guys. I literally am done 5 minutes before 2 hours. So if you don't have any questions, I'm going to get off here and clean up my mess. And then have breakfast, or technically lunch, because it's lunchtime. So for me, at 9 a.m. Yeah, I already had my breakfast earlier with a banana and an ensure. So it's lunchtime. Anyways, thank you guys for hanging out. I hope you enjoyed breakfast at my place today. See you guys all later. Bye.